Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and Sketchbook Sessions episode number 2. Today I'm going to be using watercolour pencils and the Caran D'Ache Watercolour pencils that are water soluble to create a drawing. I've got my moleskin sketchbook now. I actually ordered the correct size. This was the original size that I got, which was a little bit too small for what I needed. So this is what I'm going to be drawing. Magnolia flowers. I'm starting off with some washi tape because I'm going to be using some water soluble pencils. I just want to make sure that it doesn't blur over and you just create that nice crisp edge when you take the washi tape off. So starting off, just mapping out the branches. I am using a reference photo from Pixabay, which is of some magnolia flowers, but that was just as a reference to see the shape and the shadows of the flowers. I've actually kind of loosely copying the structure just to make sure it looks somewhat realistic. If you're interested in following this drawing as a tutorial, then over on my Patreon page I have this drawing and many others available in real time, so you can draw or paint along with me. So for a small amount per month you can gain instant access to the tutorials already available, with more added every month, and there's lots of other rewards too. Anyway, back to this drawing. I found when I thought about drawing these magnolia flowers that I would use the watercolour pencil that I have and the water-soluble Caran D'Ache pencils, because I thought that it would be a quicker way to get colour onto the paper, and it was a good way of using a different medium that I don't usually use. So the whole idea of this sketchbook really was to, when I'm feeling inspired and have an idea in my mind of something that I'd like to get down on paper, I can just grab this sketchbook and not worry too much about what I'm doing, about putting down or thinking too much about a finished piece. I could just be a little bit more relaxed about it. And this year, I think 2020 is going to be finding out the kind of things that I like to draw and paint. And with that, I think goes with actually what I'm good at drawing and painting. So that's what this sketchbook is all about, really. I want to work in this sketchbook pretty frequently, as often as I can, to get down any ideas that I have buzzing around in my head. This year I've actually started a bullet journal too, which is a good way to get down all of your thoughts and ideas that you have buzzing around in your head. Get them down on paper. I'm really good at making lists, but I tend to find that they're all over the place. I've got lists on scrap pieces of paper, I've got lists in my diary, I've got lists on my phone, and they tend to be all in different places and I can't keep track of where everything is. So I thought this year a bullet journal might be a really good way to go. And the one that I'm using is the YouTube channel Pick Up Limes. She's really good at explaining and I really liked her template, so I've copied that basically and just tweaked it to fit my art business and all of the things that I need to include with that. But some of the things that I really liked were the brain dump, and that's what this sketchbook is, really, a brain dump. It's putting down all of the things that I have in my head, getting them down on paper and working out whether they work or not, because sometimes the idea that you have in your head is very, very different to what comes out on the paper. And I thought if I could do it in a more relaxed sketchbook style, then the pressure's off and I can just be much more relaxed, a lot more laid back about the final product. It's not, you're not wasting a canvas or a really expensive piece of paper. It's a good way of getting those ideas down, and some of these might turn into bigger paintings or drawings and some of them won't, but this is the first one in the sketchbook. I really wanted to draw some flowers. I wanted to use the watercolour pencils because I haven't used them in ages, and as some of you know, the ones that are using colour pencils, they are one of the slowest, if not the slowest medium that is out there. And so sometimes you don't have the time to put towards a massive colour pencil piece. they do take hours and hours and hours of layering, and so I thought I could either use the Polychromos and the Caran D'Ache Luminance pencils and use solvent to blend, which definitely speeds up the process, brings out the colours, which is another way of doing things. But I did think, well, maybe I could use watercolours and just test out these Moleskine sketchbooks and see if they do hold the watercolour, just using a little bit of water, not too much, but just to see, just to test, see how it held up really. And it did quite well. The water did warp the pages a little bit, so maybe I need to think about how much water I'm using and not to go too heavy-handed. I also want to use acrylic paints in this sketchbook too, so we shall see how that goes. I will list these colours that I'm using in the description box down below. I did realise once I started, it was a bit too late, but once I've actually started this drawing, that I didn't actually have a very big range of colours in both sets really. The watercolour, the Derwent ones, come in a set of 24, and obviously that's a complete range of colours from white all the way up to black. So pinks, I think I had one pink which was bright pink, I had a rose and also a deep red, and that was it. I also had a purple, and I thought, well, I will just have to make do with the colours that I have. And I suppose that makes you think about things a little bit more. And I think I've said before in other videos that the colours the colours that you pick in paint or pencil is not as important as the values. So the darks need to be dark and the highlights need to be as light as they need to be to make it look realistic and to make it look 3D and to give it form. So this was quite a good experiment, that I had limited colours and I had to use those to see if I could build up the shape of the flower. And also I didn't really know how it was going to look once I'd added water, to see if it brought out the colours a little bit more or if it diluted them. So it was a really good experiment. Just going in and darkening up the branch now, just using the umber of the Caran D'Ache pencils, and that had really quite good pigment, so I wasn't quite sure how this was going to work with the water. I'm just adding some little details in here. I was quite happy with how the pinks were looking. I wanted this drawing to be quite pretty, and I have found that I really do like the whites, pinks, purples and blues combination. That tends to be quite pleasing to the eye, and so that's what I wanted for this drawing. I wanted it to, when I opened my sketchbook, to be quite a pretty picture, and I could possibly use these magnolias in a future painting or drawing in the future. So I'm just adding a bit of green now, adding a bit more colour, adding some buds. I wanted to get all of the pigment down before I started with the water, and I don't know if that was a good idea or not. It was a real experiment, because if the water didn't work, then I'd spent a lot of time putting all of those flowers together. But again, like I said, this sketchbook is meant to be relaxed, and you can see it just blends the colours really nicely together. It was a lot of fun to do, brings out some of the purple and just takes away the graininess. I mean, these sketchbooks are quite smooth anyway, but it takes away any graininess that the colour pencil puts down, which makes it sometimes look a bit crayony. It takes away all of those pencil marks. And look at the pigment change in the brown. That was quite amazing. Just adding a little tiny bit of water to that, just giving it more of a painterly look. So it does tend to turn your drawings, your pencil drawings, into more of a painting, which is a really nice tool to have if you wanted that look. Just adding some lighter brown just to give it a bit more depth. Just filling in some of the blanks, adding a bit more green, and using the water to just blend those as well, going in with a bit of brown on those, give them a little bit more tone. And as you can see, I'm just wetting the paintbrush and putting the paint directly onto the paper from the pencil and just adding a few drips. I think they look quite pretty. Flicking it from the rose pencil onto the paper to just see how that would look. Definitely improvising, just seeing how it looks. You never know whether you're going to completely ruin your picture. And I wanted to add a little bit of the blue sky. If I'd have thought it through properly, I would have put this in at the beginning and used masking fluid or used the pencil on top, but it was an afterthought, and so I kind of had to go around the branches, which looks okay, but you know, probably not as good as if I did the background first. But that goes with the relaxed and laid back, not planning aspect of this drawing. But I was kind of happy with the result in the end. I like the colour blue, I like the rose, just adding a bit more detail, going in with the white as well. Just adding a little bit more shadow just to make them pop, because it does tend to dilute the colours or blend them a little bit too much, and some of them need a bit of a crisper edge to them. So overall I was pleased. This is a finished painting, drawing, or a bit of both, up close. Just see the splatters and the detail through the flowers, a little bit of buds there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel, and I'm really grateful when you do. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.